Let's bring on Puneet. Puneet Dillon, as I said, is the CEO of Skye Bioscience, ticker SKYE. Puneet, good morning. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning, Spencer. Thanks for having me on your show. You had a little bit of alphabet soup this morning, as I was hearing.
Just a little bit, yeah. But I'm past that portion of the day, I suspect. So, Puneet, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I believe you have a presentation to share. Is that right? Yes, you do.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so let's get that up on the screen here and just go right into it. Tell us about Skye.
Yeah, thanks again. So good morning, everyone listening in to the Benzinga small cap presentation. Again, once again, thanks for the opportunity to participate. Skye Bioscience, we're an emerging growth company. My name is Puneet. I'm the CEO. I'm going to be making some forward-looking statements, so please refer to our regulatory filings for detailed risk factors. We have a pretty short presentation, so I'll jump into the key points and then save some time, for Q&A. But for those of you that are tuning into the presentation for the first time, there's basically some macro level takeaways that I think that would really help provide kind of context for where the value is in terms of this particular company and investment opportunity. So at a macro level, we're developing proprietary first-in-class molecules that are focused on treating any disease that has high unmet medical needs. What we're developing are bioengineered synthetic cannabinoid derivatives that are designed to significantly enhance the different therapeutic benefits in the different applications. So we refer to our company as a cannabinoid pharmaceutical company. And why I want to make that distinction is that we're not working with a plant-derived product or something that you can purchase in a retail cannabis shop. It's completely different, unrelated. We're purposely working on a modified molecule or several that are designed to really leverage and validate the benefits of cannabinoids while improving and reducing any of the inherent disadvantages that you'd have with some of the other plant-derived approaches. These molecules are based on a partnership with University of Mississippi, and they're based on several exclusive licenses we have with the university in all fields, in all routes of administration in terms of applications. We're initially concentrating our efforts to take one of these molecules into the clinical stage, and that's focused on glaucoma. So that's where I'll spend the majority of the time today. The management team, we have a great team that's been assembled over the last 9 months. Every single person at the company is new, and we're rapidly taking advantage of our own track record and experience to drive value forward for the company. I think in terms of a general comment for the space, it's a pretty unique moment for those who have been following the cannabinoid pharmaceutical space. One recent validating event was the acquisition of GW Pharma by Jazz for $7.2 billion. So it's really highlighting that a global pioneer in the cannabinoid space, GW, who brought forward Epidiolex that's focused on epilepsy, and through the whole FDA process, got recognition for that, not only for that product, but also for a broader pipeline. So I believe that over time, Skye can certainly replicate that type of validation. And what's unique here is that intellectual property that is based around molecules that you can't necessarily patent, but we've been able to synthesize an approach that's patented, and we're developing that very aggressively. And we have a very impressive set of milestones that I'm going to go over today that will provide some confidence in the development execution, and most importantly, the data to really support that value creation. So in terms of glaucoma, our lead program is focused on this large unmet medical need. There's very limited treatment options. They're primarily focused on symptoms that are focused on slowing down vision loss. There's no cure to reverse glaucoma, and you can see in this visual of a patient with glaucoma that will experience their loss of vision over time. when it gets into advanced glaucoma. It's a pretty large market. We're talking about almost 80 million patients globally. Even that number is probably underrepresented because many countries still don't have very accurate reporting, and it's continuing to grow for a variety of different reasons, including aging population and just overall prevalence of the disease. So in terms of the biology, it's very simple. Basically, the eye generates fluid that is important for transporting nutrients, even keeping that shape of the eye. Once, if that fluid isn't able to drain, then there's pressure that builds up in the eye. So basically, that pressure is referred to as intraocular pressure, and that intraocular pressure can damage the optic nerve and lead to vision loss. So really, glaucoma is a disease that leads to that progressive damage of those optic nerve cells, which make up the optic nerve, and that's at the back of the eye, and they're responsible for relaying that information over to the brain. And that lack of drainage of that fluid plays an important role in terms of managing that. So most of these drugs are really focused on that particular problem. So there's quite a large market. We're talking multi-billions. The current treatments are focusing on that production, limiting the production of the fluid or improving the outflow of that fluid. And there's been quite a number of drugs that have been approved, but the response rates have been very low in terms of being able to reduce that intraocular pressure. So from a monotherapy perspective, they're not very effective. Patients develop tolerance. Some of the new approaches are taking combinations of these different drugs, and there appears to be a bit of an improvement. You can see the response rates, bumping into the 30s. But again, patients develop tolerance to these drugs and really have a poor response rate over time. And essentially, they become non-responders to the available treatments. So that kind of leads us to what Skye is focused on. It's a totally new class of research. Our first application is focused on glaucoma. The backdrop for that is the fact that cannabinoid receptors are found throughout the body. They play a very important role in managing many different functions. And the eye happens to be very rich with these cannabinoid receptors, with a very strong cannabinoid receptor labeling that's been detected in many parts of the eye, especially around those tissues that are involved in managing the fluid production and the drainage, as well as the cells responsible for vision. So this is not a new kind of breakthrough. There's actually been data that's been showing the effects of THC and its ability to lower intraocular pressure. THC is a common cannabinoid found. And what's this data is showing, or this slide showing, is that basically many studies that showed inhalation of THC is actually been able to demonstrate lowering of intraocular pressure, as well as in some cases that association with those important cannabinoid receptors like CB1. So this is really validating evidence of what that looks like. And as I've kind of said in different presentations before, really that's not the breakthrough here. Clearly there's some problems in terms of limitations with the traditional approach of inhaling. You have, requiring a pretty high dose. You have poor bioavailability. You get the unwanted kind of psychotropic effects, and really it's not really effective at doing it that way. You don't get a consistent dose. And then on a local delivery side, you can't just take the extract and put it in your eye. It's not gonna get absorbed very well. So that's where I think the breakthrough comes with what Skye has been able to do. We've been able to modify this THC molecule to really enhance the delivery and overcome those challenges that have been used in traditional methods. And we refer to this as a prodrug. And a prodrug is using a medication, and then what it's referring to there is that it's metabolized into the active drug once it reaches the site that it needs to. So in this case, Skye's approach is it's really unlocking that therapeutic value of THC using our bioengineered synthetic prodrug of THC called THC VHS. So this is biochemistry that's allowed us to create a very unique molecule. Now, we've actually taken this molecule, not only made an effective delivery, the other important thing is being able to demonstrate its effectiveness in a glaucoma model and being able to show the ability to lower intraocular pressure against the leading drug. So in this slide, basically it's highlighting that we've been able to extend, not only have better ability to lower intraocular pressure, but also do it for a longer duration of time compared to the leading drugs used for glaucoma. And you can look forward to additional data such as this comparing against intraocular pressure, comparing against standard of care for this intraocular pressure model this quarter. We're just finalizing that data, and we're looking forward to sharing that. And what's going to be different there is that we've done studies showing combinations in terms of the standard of care used for glaucoma right now. This slide, is really highlighting the ability for kind of extending that mechanism beyond just lowering intraocular pressure, and it highlights the importance of the molecule being able to have an anti-inflammatory and anti-fibrotic component. So these are important indicators that are really markers that show that there's effects of THC beyond just lowering intraocular pressure. So with the limited time, I'm kind of quickly jumping through this, but one important component here is that looking at the broader population of glaucoma that has the same impact to the optic nerve, that crush-like injury or a deterioration, but without the same elevated intraocular pressure. So this is known as normal tension glaucoma, and it actually is a pretty large disproportionate number of patients that have this elevated normal IOP, but they maintain they maintain their IOP, but they have the changes to their optic nerve. So we believe that the neuroprotective components of our drug could potentially be helpful for this patient population, and certainly there's no drugs right now that are focused on this particular problem of the patients that have normal intraocular pressure. But as I've kind of alluded to above, the first thing is really demonstrating the ability to show superior IOP benefits before going into neuroprotection. But there is a fair amount of interesting data that's been highlighted of cannabinoids playing a very important role for neuroprotection. And what we're doing here is we're validating this in a neuroprotection model, testing THC VHS and our ability to preserve optic nerve cells. And that data is going to be available in the second half of 2021. So last thing I wanted to touch on is the clinical trials. Really, that's where we're really moving aggressively. So the things that were done on the research side, the things that we've done to improve the formulation and delivery, all of this other work that I've kind of gone over in terms of demonstrating ability to lower intraocular pressure and the other characteristics of the mechanism, they're really the data to support moving into the clinical program. And we're going to be initiating this clinical program before the end of the year, and it's looking at the ability for us to show that the drug is safe and also has efficacy. So we're treating patients that are healthy volunteers, but also we're going to be treating patients that have elevated intraocular pressure and showing and hopefully be able to replicate that same data that we saw in our preclinical studies. So that's really the key thing here is we're positioned to drive value. We've accomplished a fair bit so far in this year in terms of all of the preclinical or clinical enabling work, getting the formulation and getting our manufacturing all teed up for the clinical study. In the second half of the year, we're completing our manufacturing, we're completing our toxicology studies, and we're really moving quickly into the clinical operations side of initiating our phase 1 study. And in the first half of 22, that sets us up for top line data readout on our phase 1 program, as well as continuing the development of that program. One thing I didn't get a chance to touch on is that we have another molecule in development, and we're looking forward to sharing what that clinical development plan looks like for the CBD VHS, which is our second molecule in development. All that's to say that we really are positioned to drive value relative to our peer group. As you can see, there's milestones that are really centric to showing data and human clinical studies. We're focused on execution. This new team that's been assembled is really driving towards value creation. We expect that with additional data, with additional stronger clinical pipeline, we're opening up more opportunities for partnering and licensing, and we want to be able to replicate that model. The rest, in terms of the management and advisory board and our board of directors and scientific advisory board, continue to expand. We're continuing to expand the team, and we look forward to accomplishing our milestones with our group. With that, I will end, and I'll take any questions.
Yeah, question. So you said phase 1 data in first half of 22, and you also said targeting the same sort of pathway that GW Pharma sort of blazed for everybody else, and getting the FDA approval took them a very long time. Realistically, how long are we talking? I know you're still in phase 1 trials right now, but realistically, how long are we talking about when you say eventually get FDA approval for this thing?
Yeah, so you're right. There's no doubt that pharmaceutical development is a longer time horizon than launching some kind of device. So I don't have a clear indication in terms of exactly the number of years, but we're talking at least 5 years plus. That I don't think is the part that all the investors are really investing in this company for, is waiting for that final timeline for approval. Certainly that's going to be what we're focused on, but I think that the other opportunity here for Skye is that with an ocular pipeline, we're really setting ourselves up for potential partnership and licensing. And if you look at the background of our management team, that's, I think, where an area that we've been very good at and specialized in. We want to be able to drive a significant value creating event with phase 2 data. So phase 1 is that safety and efficacy. You got to check the box and get that done. And we're already planning a more aggressive development strategy and moving into phase 2 for glaucoma. And after that is where we think we can drive towards a partnership.
Yeah, of course, you can only go one phase at a time. That's kind of the point of phases, right?
Yeah.
You can only go one at a time. Quick question from our chat here. Does the synthesized approach that you've patented offer any competitive advantage over the processes that you say can't be patented?
Absolutely. I think that's the key thing here, is that we're developing a drug that can be consistently dosed, rapidly manufactured, proprietary kind of formulation, and continue to be enhanced. And it ultimately ends up being a very a strong platform where you can do many different things with. So with a plant-derived approach, one, you can't patent THC and CBD just by itself. You're looking at very specific procedures and process in order to have that same consistency to have that extract that comes out of a plant approach. Here, using a synthetic approach, we have that always consistent formulation, and you have the robust kind of procedures and process behind that that allow you to replicate that over and over again. So we hope that the safety of that drug allows us to really highlight how fast and the ability to really scale up this process relative to growing whatever magnitude that would be required using a plant approach.
All right, Praneet Dillon, CEO of Skye Bioscience. Link up on the screen, ticker up on the screen. Praneet, thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks again for having me. Thanks, Spencer.